Alrighty, welcome back. So in part one, we built the brand brief and competitor analysis and market research to understand how we could differentiate ourselves from our competitors. And then in part two, we put together a logo, brand style guide, and mood board with some images that we feel may match our brand theme. And next is use this mood board, use the brand style guide, and then all the other artifacts, bring them all together to create a series of social media images that we can use for posts, ads, and other marketing material. And the cool thing about this is that with the setup that we currently have, we're going to be able to produce images very quickly within probably a couple of minutes. And all the images that we produce are all going to look on brand. That's the most important thing that we want to achieve with this process. I'm going to try 3 models today. So we're going to use Gemini 1, Gemini 2, and then also ChatGPT. I'm going to show you a very fast workflow that you can use to create image prompts, and that you will then be able to use those prompts to create as many images as you like. So the first thing that I would suggest doing is going to the link below that I'll include and downloading this image meta prompting expert. So this is critical for this workflow. It's completely free. And then once you download it, all you'll need to do is create a new project in Claude and then copy and paste the instructions across and then upload this image prompting meta file. So this will give you everything you need to be able to create image prompts that are very specific and on demand. I'll quickly show you how this project works. So if I click into the instructions, so critical with any sort of prompt engineering, you define the role. So we're defining this as a master visual storytelling architect, specializing in AI image prompting engineering. So it's got here some expertise areas, specifying the task of what we want. We use this image meta prompting framework to be able to design realistic images. We've got here the target output. We're explaining a bit about the methodology, and then it goes into a bit more detail. So as you can see, quite detailed instructions, and this is how you want your prompts to look. You want them to be very detailed, very specific. If you have non-specific prompts, you'll get non-specific output. And then if I click into the image meta prompting file, you'll see that it's set up in such a way where it's different layers or different levels. So on the first level, what we care about is the photography type, which would be sports photography. It might be food photography. It might be landscape, architectural photography. We have subject and action. So we're wanting to know, what is the subject? Who is it? Is it a person? Is it what are we taking a photo of? We want to know the action, like what is that subject doing? So if it's a person, are they running? Are they eating? We want to understand the shot type. So is it a close-up? Is it a wide angle? Is it from the bottom? Is it from above? We want to know the location. Is it in a restaurant? Is it on a beach? What year was the photo taken? This is going to dictate quality of the photo. We've got film stock, the camera. So there are lots of different types of cameras that are available, and each camera has a slightly different look. So that has a bit of an impact on the photos that you generate. You might include director. So this is going to add some stylistic flair. We've got emotion, lighting, and color. I think the color is something that will come into play a little bit later, and I'll show you how all that works. One way that we can make sure that all of our photos stay consistent and on brand. And as you can see, there's a whole bunch of other detail here as well. All of this probably looks a little bit unnecessary, but as I said before, the more detail, the more specific, the more control you'll have over the photos that you generate, over anything that you generate through prompting. That could be a piece of writing, anything that you want to create through AI prompting, the more specific, the better. Alrighty, so there's a couple of different ways that you can go about creating your prompt for images. The first method that I'm going to show you is how to create a prompt from an image, and then you will then use that prompt to create a new image. So from the mood board for this particular theme here, I'm going to select this image here. And I'm going to ask Claude to please write a prompt describing this image. So Claude is going to look at this image, try to understand what's happening, and then it's going to read the instructions and then read the meta prompting framework. And then it's going to give us a fresh prompt that we can use in Gemini. Okay, cool. So meta prompting framework that I went through earlier. So you can see here, it's cinematic, always at the front. We've got documentary sports photography. So that's the photography type. We've got wide tracking shot, multiple runners, mid-stride along a dusty desert road, golden hour, time of the day. We've got 1990s, camera type, the lens that's being used, the director, the stylistic purposes. And then we have a bunch of other stuff here as well, but I'm pretty happy with this prompt. So I'm just going to copy it. And then I'm going to go straight into Gemini. So this is the free version of Gemini. You can use this one without paying, and I'm going to type it in and see what we get. Alrighty, so here's what we got from Gemini. So this is a decent looking image. and then we paste that image side by side so we can see the difference. Obviously, these two images are fundamentally different. All right, now just so you can see the difference, I'm going to use the updated version of Gemini. So this is through Google's AI Studio. It's using Nano Banana 2. So this is the latest image model from Gemini. You actually have to pay for this. So I probably pay about maybe $20 per month to use this. So it can get a little bit pricey depending on what you're generating images for. But if you're not too fussed, then obviously you can just go ahead and use the free version, but using the exact same prompt. Cool. So what we can see here, we have generated a pretty similar image to the free model, which is quite surprising. So if you put that side by side, you can see that the landscape is pretty much exactly the same. I'm going to try the exact same prompt, but using ChatGPT to see what we get, just so we get a side-by-side comparison. So it's come up with this guardrail concern. So this is the one thing that I've noticed with ChatGPT that's different from the other models. So what's causing this is the name of the director here. So that's a bit of a difference with ChatGPT versus Gemini, is that ChatGPT doesn't allow for using artist reference names in your prompts. So that's fine. We can just remove it. Okay, cool. So here's what we got from ChatGPT. So let's pop it in and see everything side by side. So this was the original image that we started off with. Cool. So there's an example of 3 models side by side and comparing the different output and the different images that you can produce. So this is an example of how we can take an original image, use a prompting technique to repurpose that image and create something that's of a similar theme, but obviously a very different look that you're after. And then that might also be a good way to do this. So instead of starting from an image, we're starting from this description of golden hour on the bay, foreshore running shots, golden light, coastal water motion. And then we've got some of these words in here as well that's describing what we're looking for. And then we haven't given any other details. So we're basically giving this project the license to create whatever kind of image it wants that best represents this description here. Alrighty, so what's happened here is the project has provided us with a few different options. So we've got here the approach, so mid-run stride, foreshore path. We've got another one here, stopped at the water's edge. And then we've got another one here, running past the camera. So it's provided us with another option here as well. So post-run, standing still. Looks like it's different parts of the runner's journey. So it's basically given us 4 different options of 4 different parts of a runner. And look, let's just go with the first one. I think this is probably more similar to the other prompts that we've tried. So I'm going to pop this into the free version of Gemini and see what we get. So we'll just pop that in here for context so you can see them all side by side. Now I'll use the same prompt for the paid version of Gemini. So this is Nano Banana 2. And whilst that's loading, I'm also going to do the same thing for ChatGPT. And I'm going to anticipate that it's going to error out because we've used a artist's name here. So I'll just get rid of that and then hit go. Alrighty, so here's the paid version of Gemini. So I'll pop that next to the other image. And there's the ChatGPT version. So this is what we started with. These are the direct images that were inspired from that. So I want to show you what I presented at the beginning of the video. So these are some other images that I generated way in advance. So if you compare them to the ones that I just showed you earlier, you can see the difference between them. So a couple of things that I'll point out directly. So you can see the blues that are being used are exactly the same blues. The actual quality of the photography is exactly the same. So this suggests that there's some level of consistency that's being brought through to make these images all consistent. And surprise, it is in the prompt that you use. By putting certain things in all of your prompts, you can get them to look similar, even though the themes are completely different. So I've already gone through and figured this out in terms of what I need to put in here to make all these images similar. And I'm going to try them on the other images that we just generated just to see how they turn out. Here are the different components of the prompt that we can use to make sure that when we assemble the prompt, that regardless of what we're trying to depict in the image, it's all going to look like it's been taken from the same camera, the same setup, and has the same lighting, and then also has the same colors coming through, which is going to make all of these images look consistent and look like they were basically taken from the same artist. So you can see here we have camera and technical setup. So we're saying, yep, this is taken in 2024. Yeah, we could make it any year, I guess. We could make it this year, 2026. We've got here the camera type. We've got the lens. We have a bit of an explanation as to where the photo is being taken and some of the external factors that are being brought to the photo, like the fact that it's sun drenched and it's physical euphoria. We have the lighting. It's saying it's harsh and directional. We've got the color palette. So these are our brand colors. So this is what's going to make it look consistent. So if we have an image, one of these images that's next to our logo, for example, and our logo is in the brand color, they're all going to gel together. And then we have the shot angle. We've got a couple of different versions here, extreme, wide, and close up. We could include more, but this is going to depend on what we're trying to get out of the photo. We've got here the film style. So we've got cinematic, editorial, or documentary, lifestyle, or interior. And then we have background treatment, and then we have moods. So this would be an example of the components of the prompt that we would want to include if we're wanting to keep everything looking consistent across each of the different images. And that was exactly what was applied to these images to get this result. So let's do a test on these other images that we generated just to see what difference it makes. So I'm just asking Claude to include these components in the above prompt. So the prompt that we generated earlier, we want these elements to be included here. And then what I will do is just put in the aspect ratio of 1:1 because we want this to be a square image. So it's pulling in our brand colors that we defined earlier in the style guide, and it's included those components which are going to hopefully make the image consistent. Awesome. And whenever you're creating images with Gemini, always important to start a new chat. Don't continue in the same thread because you'll find that the images that you generate will deteriorate over time. So you want a fresh context and a fresh chat. So I'm going to create a new image, and then I'm going to pop the prompt in and see what we get. Okay, cool. So here's the image that we ended up with. I'm just going to copy this across to show you the difference here. So you can see, if I just move this over, so you can see that the image that we've pasted in looks fundamentally different to these images. You can obviously see that these were exactly the same prompt that was used in each of the different models. And you can see how they're, apart from these two, you can see how even when we take it across to a different model, it looks completely different. This is the image that we just generated now with those additional components that will hopefully make it more on brand and more consistent. So I'm already starting to see these blues come through. But just to complete the full test, I'm going to try the same prompt with the upgraded version of Gemini. Alrighty, so I'm in the newer version of Gemini, so Nano Banana 2. I'm going to hit send and see what we get. And then whilst that's going, I'm also going to try the same thing in ChatGPT. So hit that, hit create image, look to see if there's any artist names in here, which I can't see. So hopefully it'll work. If not, it'll throw an error. Okay, cool. Here's the updated image from Nano Banana 2. So let's pop that in here. So I can already see immediately, it's something just as simple as the colors being brought through for the consistency. There's other factors like the same camera and the same angle. These little details tied together help tie together the different images and make it seem like it's from the same camera or even part of the same photo shoot. Okay, cool. And ChatGPT is done as well. And that's what we got. So I think if we just take a little bit of a zoom out, maybe what I'll do is bring this in. So I think if you look at all of these images side by side, and I told you that they were taken from the same camera on the same day, you'd probably believe me. You can already see, as I mentioned earlier, the colors that are being brought through from the water, from the bokeh, and then the way that the image has been shot. They all look like they've been taken from the same camera. So it really is just having some components that you want to remain consistent throughout each of your different images. This is obviously going to be invisible to most people. Most people wouldn't be able to tell, what camera is being used or the colors that are being brought through. It's actually quite subtle. But you can see how those small details, when they're treated consistently across different images and across different models, they can really tie everything together. And just to show how this sits against the other images that we've already come up with. Cool. So as you can see, it all looks like these images are all tying in together and they're all part of the same brand. You can obviously paste the Bayside logo in just to further emphasize the point. And I guess as well, you can see the Gemini logo that you always tend to get with the free version. So you can just kind of crop that out. But what I've just demonstrated here is that you can go from a brand brief, understand, what is going to differentiate you from your competitors, creating a logo and brand style guide from scratch, putting together a mood board so you can find images that reflect your brand, and then you can create some AI images with a consistent thread added to the prompt, which allows you to get consistent images every single time. And I've included the prompts down below here. So as you can see, that this portion here is exactly the same for each and every single one of the prompts that we're using. This is why all of these images are consistent. And just to further prove the point, I'm going to start with a completely new image that you haven't seen before, just to show you how this works again. So let's try this image here. So this looks like people doing surf yoga on the beach. Let's go over to Claude, go over to our image prompt. We're going to paste this in, and then Claude has gone ahead and created that prompt. Then I'm asking Claude to please add these components to the prompt above. There you go. Claude's going to rewrite the prompt, and I'm going to take that, and I'll first try in the free version of Gemini, so we get the full picture, and there we go. So it already looks in line with the other images that we've already generated. I'm going to pop that in, and as you can see, it already fits in nicely with everything else that we have. Now let's try ChatGPT and see what we get. Now whilst that's loading, let's try Gemini Nano Banana 2. This is the paid version, and see what we get. Cool. So that was pretty quick. Pop that in, and here's the ChatGPT version. So once again, you can see how we have taken this and with a few tweaks have been able to create a consistent set of images. This didn't take very long, probably took me about 5 minutes to generate 5 images. And this is something that will obviously save you a lot of time. All of these images are going to be completely unique to you and your brand. And just as a reminder, this is what we were able to generate without any additional components, without any additional specs. As you can see, they look pretty generic. They look probably more similar to stock photography. They don't look very specific. If I was going to generate all of these images and claim them for my brand, my feed would look very inconsistent over time. It wouldn't be recognizable, and it wouldn't be attributed to me and my brand. But as you can see, with some slight tweaking and a couple of extra lines and a couple of extra bits of detail, we've been able to get to a very consistent set of images that hopefully you'd be proud to show for your business. So step 1, we've built the brand brief that includes our positioning, includes our key messages, our taglines, how we want to show up. And it's also includes some initial themes that we can start using. Obviously go back and forth with Claude. You can iterate and hopefully land on a point that you are happy with. Critical things with this process as well is that baked in from the get-go into the brand brief is that all of this is APRA compliant. So we've kept the APRA guidelines and advertising principles in mind when we've crafted all of this content. So we're confident that when we put it out there into the world, we're not going to be at risk of getting any fines or any sort of compliance risk. So that's another benefit of using this approach. And then we obviously went with step 2, where we did our competitor research to see what content was out there, to see what content was popular, and then also to understand if there are any blind spots, or if there is any white noise for us to fill. And then we're able to remix them all together to come up with a unique concept specifically for our business. And then off the back of that, we're able to create a brand kit or a style guide that includes the logo and all the different variations, color palette, typography. What else was there? And this is something that you only need to do once in your business life cycle. Only need to create your brand once, and then it's something that you can repeat and reuse consistently moving forward. As a way for us to find images that we could use to create a mood board, we started off with 4 themes. We found 6 images per theme. Obviously all of those images were fairly different to each other across themes, but that doesn't matter because we're able to tie them all together when we're actually using AI to generate the images. And then step 6, we used either a description of a theme or an initial image as inspiration to create a meta prompt that we could then use in our AI tools to create more concepts and more images. And then this is something that happened pretty quick. Once you figure out what those consistent components are that you want to include in all of your images to make sure that it's a consistent look and feel across the entire set, that's probably the harder part. But once you nail that down, the rest is easy, as I demonstrated. It takes about maybe 1 to 2 minutes to generate new image. The workflow is very consistent. And to make things even easier for you, you could set up a Claude project that has those components stored in one of the files. And then whenever you want to generate a new image, you might either paste in an example or even just type in what you're looking for, the prompt that you get will already have those components baked in. You won't have to do that extra step of adding them in afterwards. Alrighty, so that's everything done in the series. And I guess where to go from here. All of the prompts that I've used for this tutorial will be linked in the description below. I'll also export the Figma template as well, and I'll include that in the description as well. So you can download this and you can see all the images that I've created, and you'll be able to dissect the file. And social media creator as well. So this is actually more of a comprehensive project. So this one is a paid project. So you can find the link to that one in the description below as well, if that's something that you're wanting to use to make sure that all of your content is APRA compliant. This was obviously what I used right in the beginning in the first video. And this was something that I used to create just to make sure that everything was compliant with APRA and to make sure that all of the advertising standards were considered. Please like this video if it was helpful for you. Hit subscribe. Once again, links will be below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.